Hi everybody, this is Rebecca again, and I'm here today to talk to you about reading music. So this is the most basic lesson on how to read all the dots and lines that you see on a music staff. And this is good for any beginning student who needs a good refresher. If you're a piano student, if you're a beginning violin student or any of the woodwinds or anything, this will give you a pretty good basis for what you're looking at. I'll offer some additional lessons in other times for specific instruments because there's some tricks and tips depending on each instrument that you play. So today we're going to focus on the piano though because it kind of hits two of the major steps. Okay? So first we have to talk about how we organize the notes. Okay, we have high notes and low notes. Low notes sound like the rumble of a train or maybe the thunder, but I like to think about the low notes as things that happen close to the ground, right? Because it helps us to understand and remember that they're down low and we use the words low for those notes. The high notes are the ones that sound a little bit more like a bird chirping, actually a lot more like a bird chirping, right? Birds can fly really high, the high notes go really high. Okay, so we have high notes and low notes. We also have notes in the middle, and the relationship between each note, you can have one note and have notes that are higher or notes that are lower. Right? If you can't quite hear the difference between those notes, that's because I played notes that are very close to one another. As you continue to work on your music, you'll start to hear the distinct difference between those different notes, okay? So now we have to start talking about how we can take those notes that we hear and put them on a piece of paper or a whiteboard in this case so that other people can see and know what note we want them to play. Okay, so we're going to start with a single note being just a dot on a big white piece of paper or whiteboard. Okay, so we have our dot. Okay, we're going to call that A. Okay, so there's our A. Now, it doesn't mean much or look like much right now. So now we need a note that's a little bit above it. Okay, and when we go high, we go forward in the alphabet when it comes to the names of the notes. So the next letter after A is B. So we're going to put a note or a dot that's a little bit higher than the A, and we're going to call that B. Okay. Now we're going to go a little bit lower. Now to go backwards in music after A, we actually have G. Just trust me on that one, and we'll have a different lesson that goes over why it's G. But for right now, let's just call it something. We'll call it G. Okay, so now I have my three notes that I'm going to start with. Now, if I take away these letters, right, in which they're just symbols to call the notes something, right? We don't have much going on other than just three dots. So we have to add something to help us recognize quickly the difference between these different notes. So we're going to add a line. I'm going to put that line for now right through the A dot. Okay. Oops. So there's my A line. Okay. And I have my B that's above it and my G that's below it. Okay, so now I can tell somebody, okay, I have my A, G, B. If any note is on the line, play an A. If it's below the line, play a G. Above the line, play a B. Okay, so now I can do, right, I can look at this and be like, okay, first I play a G, and then I'm going to play the A, and then I'm going to play a B. Right, so now I can express to anyone else three different notes. Now with this setup, we can keep going, right? So now maybe I want a C. Okay, so I'm going to put a note above the B, and my B is already above the line, so I don't want to add any extra line for a B, but I can add another line. A little messy, but that's okay. Okay, and now my C, here we'll round it out a little bit, is on a line. right? So now I have my C line, okay? And I can keep going down as well, right? And I'm going to put a line below my G, okay? I'm going to put a note right on it, right? And what comes before G? F. Okay? And now we're starting to get a ladder, right? We have a step on the ladder and the space in between, and on the ladder and the space in between. The only difference between music and the ladder is only the lines would be where you step on a ladder, but in music, the line and the space are just as important. They're both very important to help us show all of our different notes. Okay? So now I can just keep going and going and going this way, right? So here's my space. Right, and next note after C is D. And I can add a line. And I'm going to put my note on the line. And that's going to be my E. And I can keep going down. I'm going to add a line before I add my next space note. So I have my space note, right? And before F is E. So here's my E. And then I have my line, right? And before E, it would be D, E, so D, right? And so now I've got D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. I have 2 different Ds now. So now things are starting to get a little bit more complicated. And this video is starting to get a little long. So we know we have our lines and our spaces, separate video. For now, we're going to organize this stuff a little differently, or we're going to add some extra information so that I have a low D and a high D and the note, the D in the middle. And how am I going to tell people which D I want? Okay? All right, thanks for listening. I'll have some worksheets for you with links below. And if you fill out the worksheet and send me a message, I will grade it and let you know if you're starting to get it, okay? Because we need practice, practice, practice so that you can read the notes and really quickly understand what's going on. All right, thanks for watching.